I think it can kind of be a dangerous precedence to set that like, hey, if you're just miserable, that's okay. It's just God making you holy, and that's just the way marriage is supposed to be. I don't think that's true. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
There's a nuance there. There's times where maybe it is making you holier. Mm-hmm. And there's times where it's like, no, this is not necessarily the will of God.
And like,
you know,
if the growth is never happening and you're just perpetuating the season of hard forever.
Yeah.
Now I think you're almost, let's just say as an example, I'm a wife, right? And my husband is selfish and he's mean and he's rude and he can grow there, right? And he should, and he needs to grow there. And you can say, okay, this is going to build my character while he's growing. But if you get 20 years down the line and he's still that way and you're still like, okay, I'm being made holy. And welcome back to another episode of the Married With The Mugicas podcast. We are so excited that you are here, and we're excited to be here. We are Richard and Hailey Mugica. We have been married for 13 years. We have 4 kids ranging from 11 to 6, and we homeschool and run a home-based business, and we're very beginner homesteaders considering getting a donkey and all the other fun home things.
A wild donkey.
A wild donkey. If you have any experience with donkeys, tell us if this is a bad idea before I go get a wild donkey.
It's because we're thinking of the cute little donkeys beneath our home.
Oh, they're so cute. Bee and Betty.
And they're
the
like
cutest.
super cute. But then it's like, okay, imagine them being a wild, untamed donkey.
And
would they be as cute?
I don't know if I'm right. I think a burro, is that a male donkey? Which I don't know. I don't know. We don't need to talk about this right now.
I have no idea.
Anyways.
A burrow? What the heck's a burrow?
How are you?
That's what gophers do. They burrow.
It's different. It's Burro.
Huh. I don't know.
How are you?
Bone marrow is what you were thinking of.
No, you're thinking How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I'm doing good. Good day. Got Starbucks.
Oh, yeah.
Feeling the life running through my veins.
You know what? That's another thing. We need to get sponsored by Rogaine and Starbucks.
Starbucks, of course.
Those should be our
What's
two
the CEO's
sponsors.
Name?
I don't know. We'll reach out to her.
Starbucks. It's
you would know.
Shoot, man. I feel like I have.
If anybody has a contact for the CEO of Rogaine or Starbucks, let us know.
Rogaine is legit. Hey, look, wives. If your man needs to, if your man needs to get thicker, fuller, more plump locks, get Rogaine, because that stuff freaking works.
We're big fans. Anyways, so in our little neck of the woods here, football started yesterday.
Yes.
It's the best time of the year, in my opinion.
It's football season.
So fun. So the boys and our girls are cheerleaders. So it just all started up yesterday, and we're so excited. So fun. Anything else fun in your little world? Anything else exciting?
Anything else fun? Well, I feel like we've been having a lot of fun lately. We came back from, where do we go?
Well, we knew football season was starting, so we wanted to fit in
we did
all
one
those
last hurrah.
Fun last summer things. So last week we took the kids to Wild Rivers.
Not
Raging
Wild
Waters.
Raging Waters. Yeah. Which is like a huge freaking water park in Southern California. Probably the biggest one there is.
And then we did a weekend at the beach.
A weekend at the beach.
Which was
that was a lot of fun. Riker's pilling like a maniac.
Oh my gosh. My oldest, he refused to let me put sunscreen on. And I kind of just reached this parenting moment of
second-degree burns.
Sometimes you just got to learn your lessons the hard way. Yeah. And he learned this one the hard way. His shoulders are peeling, and
he'll definitely want to put some sunscreen on. There's no doubt about it.
Poor guy. So last week on the podcast, we talked about the 5 conversations that every marriage should be having.
Yeah.
And we used the 5 M's to help illustrate that. So that was mindset, muscles, money, marriage, and mission. Those are the 5 M's.
That's pretty good.
It was maybe one of my favorite episodes to record.
Really?
It was. I don't know why.
That's a big statement.
I know. I've had a couple favorites, but that's up there. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that one yet, I'd really encourage you to go back and listen to that one. And today, we're doing an episode.
We sure are.
We are.
We sure are. Yes, ma'am.
The title of this episode is Why Does Marriage Feel So Hard?
Ooh.
And so we did an episode a couple weeks ago about, the title was Life is Hard, Marriage Shouldn't Be. And so we're going to kind of explore that a little bit deeper and all the reasons why your marriage might feel hard and how to fix it, how to approach it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were at a quinceañera for your...
Okay, I was going to mention this.
Your cousin's daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were at her quinceañera over the weekend. And we had this really interesting conversation. We were at the table with your sister and her husband. And he was telling us about this book that he's reading. Who was it by? The Palantir guy?
Yeah, by the Palantir guy. Oh my gosh, I'm like just doing really bad with names right now.
It was called
0 to 1.
0 to 1. That was what it was called.
Yeah.
But he was saying that the question that this guy asks in the book, or he says that whenever he interviews for his company, the one question he asks every person is, what is one belief that you hold very dear that most people would disagree with? And he said most people bomb that question. If they say something stupid, like, what was some examples he gave?
Oh.
I can't remember. But he was saying most people bomb this question, and it was a very thought-provoking question. So he was sharing it with us, and my answer kind of came to my head pretty quickly. And my answer to that question would be that marriage is not that hard. I feel like people overcomplicate it and people expect it to be hard, but it's not. It's really not. And so that was kind of the question that kind of prompted this podcast topic that I wanted to go over.
I like it. I do remember you saying that.
Yeah. What would your answer to that question be?
I thought about it. I don't know. The one, I don't know.
The one thing. What's the one thing that came to your mind that you're now not saying?
The one thing came to my mind, but I don't even want to say it because it's maybe just it might be a bad belief. But
whisper it to me.
What? Whisper it to me. I want to know. What? No, I don't know. Let's just continue.
Okay, you can tell me later.
Continue. Yeah. Okay,
so the big idea in this podcast, who always says that? Here's the big idea.
Now, here's the big idea. What's that gentleman's name?
Josh Howerton.
Josh Howerton.
Let's kick this pig.
You got to love that guy.
So the big idea is marriage isn't broken. The environment we're trying to build it in is. This episode asks, has culture made marriage harder than God intended?
What would you say?
I think so.
Yes.
I do think so.
A profound yes.
With a slight caveat.
Yeah.
And that is that hard doesn't mean bad, right? Working out can be hard. Doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah.
Raising children is hard. It doesn't mean it's bad. So if you're going through hard seasons, there's inevitably hard seasons in life, right? Having a newborn, being sick, moving, business things. Like there's definitely stressful seasons. Life throws hard things at you. And that doesn't mean that it's bad. And sometimes it could just be that you're looking to experience a season of growth, or you need to overcome something, or God is trying to develop your character in something. But overall, I don't think marriage is or should be hard, or that God intended it to be hard.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the most common things that we hear just in general, like when somebody gets engaged or when somebody's asking for marriage advice, the first thing you're going to hear is, well, marriage is really hard. So that's a really common thing.
And here's something that I think about too is, let's take fitness, for example. Mm-hmm. A lot of people would say, well, fitness is really hard. Mm-hmm. And what I've come to notice about hard things, generally something feels hard when we don't truly understand it. So fitness, for example, they'll say, hey, getting in shape is really hard. And then I start hearing them talk and they're like, I just don't know, like, how many meals per day should I be eating? Can I eat this food or that food? What workouts should I do? What supplements should I take? Should I train in the evening? Should I train at night? Like they ask all these questions, right? And when they ask all these questions, what's running through my head is like, oh man, that's why it feels really hard.
Overcomplicating a simple mechanism.
Yeah, because humans have this crazy ability to just truly overcomplicate things. So they worry about things that don't matter.
Well, and can I tell you why they do that?
Yeah.
Because if you make something really complicated and really hard, you have a reason or an excuse for not doing it well.
100%.
Because it's not just that you didn't put the effort in. It's not just that you didn't try. It's not just that you got lazy about it. It's that it's really hard and you have to figure out all this other stuff.
Yes.
It gives you an excuse for being in a state that you don't want to be in.
100%. And, so what I try to do to not overcomplicate situations, because anytime I overcomplicate something, it automatically becomes hard. And so, for example, if we go back to fitness, I've literally just said there's two things that matter. So I only focus on two things. I want to eat less and move more. Mm-hmm. Like those are the two core things. So I know if I just do those two things, 80 to 90% of it's done, right?
And you can get into the fun stuff later.
You can get into the supplements and what times of day and what foods are good and this macros and that. I mean, it's like the 10% that doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? That maybe if you're trying to dial in for a fitness competition, maybe you need that stuff. But for the general population, you just eat less, move more. And so like in marriage, there's so many things going on, right? You're like, well, kids' schedules, my wife's mood, my husband's mood. We have financial pressures. We have relational pressures. We have family pressures. So like now all these things are coming up. And what does it do? It makes marriage feel hard, right? And so what I always try to do is like, wait. Don't worry about all the minutia. What are the 1 to 2 things that if I just did this in marriage, if I just do these 2 things, I will win 80% of the time. And that's what I try to do with everything.
Okay.
And so
what would you say those 2 things are? If I just did these 2 things in marriage, what would they be?
I mean, for me, number 1 is try to think of myself less, right? Like as long as I'm not like always just concerned about myself, marriage is better and just a lot easier, right? So it's like, number 1 is that. And then number 2 is just take responsibility for all the things that are going wrong in my marriage, right? And somebody said this, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I've always said what's the quote? It's from Jocko, that all things are your fault. Right? Everything is your fault. A guy rephrased this for me. And actually, I think I tend to agree with him a little bit more. He's like, it's not that everything is your fault, but everything is your problem. And when you take that into heart, like when you take that phrase into heart, you realize, maybe I didn't cause it. Right? I was born into this family. I couldn't change that. But guess what? Me being born into that family is my problem. And I have to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And so when you come from that frame of that power of like, maybe it's not my fault, but it is my problem. I need solutions. And that empowers me. So in the marriage, like I would say those 2 things, if I just did that, think of myself less and look at every problem as something that I have control over and I should participate in to find a solution. I don't know. I think marriage becomes a lot easier.
Yeah.
What are your 2 things? I don't know.
Yeah. No, my 2 things would be like, remember you're on the same team. You're like, it's not you fighting against your husband. You guys are looking for a solution together and moving forward together. And then also just like lean into and respect God's order of things. So instead of like fighting for your way, like as a wife, I believe in male leadership. So I'm going to state my point and I'm going to like make my opinion known. But then when you make the final call and the final judgment as the leader of our home, whether it is what I wanted or not, we're going to do that, and I think you would solve 95% of marriage problems if women could do that. But women have a really hard time with that.
Yeah. And and look, going back to the example with fitness, it's like, those are the 2 things that matter. But most people put most of their attention on all the other things that don't matter. That
don't require them to do anything.
And then what happens? You don't get the results that you want, right? That's why people don't get the results they want in fitness, because they're focused on all the other things. And then what do they tell you? They say, well, fitness is so hard. Same in marriage. You just didn't focus on the 2 things that matter most. You're focused on all the 10 things that don't really move the needle. And now you're like, wow, marriage is so hard.
But the 2 things that matter most are the 2 things that require the most from you.
Exactly.
It's not just taking the magic pill. It's not just taking the creatine at the right time. It's not just shutting the fridge at a certain time.
100%.
It's actually doing the work. And people don't want to actually do the work.
Yeah, for sure.
So for this episode, we have 7 points that are making your marriage feel hard that we can actually approach and fix if you're willing to do it. So the first one is just culturally, we've been taught to think about ourselves first. I don't even know if it's strictly a cultural problem. I think it's a human problem, maybe just made worse by our culture, but we are very, very selfish beings.
Yeah.
And, culture says things like follow your heart, chase your dreams, protect your peace, do what makes you happy, and doesn't really teach you to consider your spouse or to consider your family, which we had a reel go viral a week or so ago. And it was about how we don't allow our children to dictate what the family is going to do, right?
Yeah,
that was what the reel was about.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of women in those comments talking about how, children need to make decisions because how are they going to know how to make decisions when they grow up? And I hear you, but my thought is like, you don't need to teach your children to have an opinion and to value their opinion over everyone else. You need to teach them, like that's innate. Humans do that. You need to teach them to value someone else's opinion, to consider someone else's feelings, to put somebody before themselves. That's what you need to teach people, because people will put themselves first naturally.
100%.
And so that's kind of just our first point. So in marriage, you have to ask, how can I serve you? You have to be quick to forgive. You have to, we've always say the only place for competition in marriage is who's sacrificing more and who's serving more. That's the only place for competition in marriage.
Yeah.
How do I honor my spouse, right? Those are the questions you need to ask instead of what do I want? What makes me happy? What's my dream?
Yeah. Yeah. We used to know a couple that would build a competition around like who made more money. And one of the spouses didn't like that the other one would like start making more money than them, and they felt threatened. Whereas it's like, dude, what are you talking about? If your spouse wins money more, you both win more. Like there shouldn't be. But that was a interesting. What's the word I'm looking for? Competition that they had in the marriage.
Yeah, and so be honest with yourself. If your marriage feels hard, actually ask yourself, does it feel hard because I'm being selfish? And that might be the God's honest truth. And like actually be willing to acknowledge that in yourself and fix it if you need to.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not your heart, but that's
I as I think about the word selfish, obviously it's so like human nature, but selfishness gives you great short-term rewards, but very horrible long-term rewards. And it's like in the moment, you're like, well, my wife is stressed out. I know she needs X from me, but I want to do Y because I'm feeling more selfish. So you do Y, you feel great in the moment. But then what happens tomorrow? Like that it's noticed, right? Your wife takes notice to that. Like, hey, I could have really used some help today and you didn't do it. So it's like the selfishness is instant gratification, which we are just wired for, especially with the scrolling and the next thing and the dopamine hits. And I think that's why it's so dang hard. It's like the short term is what I want now. The long term is what I don't want to think about. But the long term rewards is like what we all want.
What really matters.
What really matters,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Number 2 is we expect marriage to meet needs that only God can meet. And that's a really hard one because obviously your spouse is like here on earth, as far as human connection goes, that's the closest relationship you have to you, right? But they can't provide you with everything you need. They can't provide you with all of the security and all of the comfort and all of the peace that you need. You have to go to God for some things because your spouse is only human and they can only hold so much and they can only do so much for you. They can't provide your identity. Your identity cannot be in your spouse. They can't provide your purpose. They can't provide everything.
Yes.
And that's too much weight to put on a person.
100%. And then what you'll notice in marriage is if you have that type of marriage, your feelings and how you feel are always dependent on how your spouse is doing. So it's like my spouse is doing great. I feel great. My spouse is not doing great and they're not providing me with what I feel horrible. So now your whole life is dependent on how somebody else is either treating you or making you feel. And I remember this like really distinctly. And I learned this early on is when I first got into sales, right? I had my first boss, and what he did in the beginning is he used to give me recognition. So it was like, I would slam a deal, I would get recognition. I would make a sale, I would get recognition. And I started just feeding off that recognition. And then what happened is slowly as I started progressing in the company, I got less and less recognition because it was like, oh, Rich is already a killer. It was expected. And so then what I realized in my days is the days I got recognition, I felt great. The days I didn't, I felt horrible. And I was like, I just want my boss, somebody to say, like, why aren't they saying these things? And it would kill my whole day. And then one day I woke up and I said, you know what? I'm going to stop living this life. My days are literally being controlled by who recognizes what I've done. Mm-hmm. And I remember that distinctly in my mind because I was falling into this pattern of like feeling great and then feeling horrible. And I just hated it. And that day I decided I'm not going to live like that. Like nobody's going to dictate how I feel. You know, it's hard, but that's when you truly know like your spouse is no longer your God,
right?
Your source of happiness.
Well, and I think if you are relying on your spouse for that, you're going to end up deeply disappointed and resentful because they're unable to fulfill it.
All the time. Yeah. Maybe one day out of the week or 2 days out of the week, maybe 3, but like not every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it obviously it just puts it puts a pressure that nobody can handle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3 is we have unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
And what do they say? All anger is just a result of unmet expectations or something?
Yeah. All disappointment, all unhappiness is a byproduct of what you expected to happen and what actually happened. Mm-hmm. Right. And so if like I wake up in the morning, or let's go a deeper one. Like, let's say at night, I expected to have sex with my spouse tonight, but it didn't happen. What happens? You feel horrible because your expectation didn't meet reality. And that is all unhappiness at the end of the day.
Yeah. You expected vacation to go a certain way, and guess what? Your kid's going to go according
100%
to your plan. And so then you're disappointed.
Yes.
And that's why a lot of parents who like have to go through IVF to have children actually are more prone to postpartum depression because it took so long and because they desired a baby so badly, they almost romanticize it in their mind.
Yeah.
And then when the baby comes out and this is a lot of work and breastfeeding hurts and this is hard and the baby has witching hour and it's really hard, this romantic picture they had in their mind and the expectation they had where they see the newborn photos with everybody glowing and they're holding this sweet sleeping baby. That's what they expected life to be like. And then 100%. It's not. And they're like, whoa, you know?
Yes.
But I think that could happen in marriage too. Yeah. We have this expectation of what my spouse is going to do and what it's going to be like. And he's going to come home from work and we're going to cook dinner together and the kitchen's going to be clean. And then guess what? You come home and the laundry's got to be done and the dog went through the trash can and there's trash all over the floor and the floor has to be mopped and it's a disaster and you're disheartened and it's not what you expected. And
you know, I've had a lot of conversations with myself about expectations because I've really struggled with this area because it's like there's only 2 things you can do. It's like either you deal with the consequences of having high expectations and never meeting it and you're always feeling miserable, or you just lower your expectations and then you feel great because you're like, I didn't expect that to happen anyways. But I've always had this tension, right? Like how do I manage that?
I do think the tension's good.
The tension is good, but I've come up with I think a solution.
Okay.
So now I don't think the expectation is the villain. The expectation is not the problem. It's the label you put on the expectation.
Okay.
So it's like, let's go back to the sex thing, right? I expect to have sex with my wife tonight. That is a good expectation. Like, I want to have that expectation, right? It doesn't happen. Now, as soon as it doesn't happen, what do? I put a label on that expectation. I feel horrible because I didn't meet this thing. So I've interpreted that expectation a certain way. So that's like the key for me now. It's like, instead of interpreting that expectation as X, which makes me feel horrible, what if I just change the interpretation? What if I change the story on that expectation, right? It's like, for example, it's like, imagine you have a 10-year goal to become a millionaire and it doesn't happen. Well, you can say, I didn't meet my goal. I feel horrible. Or you can say, hey, you know what? God's using this. There's a bigger plan in store. Like, who's to say that in 5 years, I'm not a decamillionaire, right? Yeah. Like maybe there's another story to be had here. And that interpretation changes how I feel about it.
And I completely agree. But I do think that probably takes a lot of
emotional stability.
Emotional maturity. 100%. That's what I was going to say. Because I remember when we were on our vacation.
It does. And that's what I've realized.
We were on our vacation. It's this beautiful vacation. And our kids were complaining.
Yeah.
And I was so frustrated because I was like, man, I really expected that they were going to be so grateful and they were going to be so excited and they were going to be so happy. And that's not what I'm getting right now. And I'm really frustrated.
100%.
You know? And so, but I also think that frustration is good because I don't want to just be okay with my children complaining. I want to call them higher, even though, you know what I mean? So
yes,
you don't want to lower your expectations so much that you don't achieve anything.
Yeah, of course. No, nobody wants that.
You need to keep your high expectations but then roll with the punches. It's
you
kind
roll
of
with the punches, exactly. Change the interpretation of that expectation.
Yeah, which is hard to do.
Very hard.
Which is really hard.
But that's the key that I've noticed is like, wow, that actually helps a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, number 4 in things that make marriage feel hard that we can fix or work on is we compare constantly. And of course, social media can be a huge proponent of that. But, you know, you see people's vacations on social media or you see their date nights. And you're not getting those things. You're not doing those things. Your house doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
Which I was laughing so hard the other day. There's a lady on Instagram. Her handle is From This Day Forward. That's her handle. But she was showing like her little protein shake, and she had the little bag in the blender, and like she was making her protein shake, and it's like this cute aesthetic photo. And then the next photo was like the rest of her kitchen. And she's like, this is the Instagram that you're seeing, but all this pile of dirty dishes and the crumbs on the floor, like this is my reality.
Yeah, the real.
And I just remember that for everybody.
Yeah.
Like we went on this beautiful Mediterranean vacation, and guess what? I was really frustrated with my kids in the hotel room because they were complaining. So like,
100%.
don't fool yourself into thinking that anybody's life is perfect. It's not.
It's never as it
There's
seems.
always the Instagram versus reality.
Yeah.
Zoom out that you can do.
The real is 90% of it. The Instagram highlight is maybe 10. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, oh, if that.
Yeah, if that. Yeah.
But I also think that comparison's not always a bad thing.
I was going to say that.
Because it can show you a different option for reality, right? You grew up in one family that maybe your parents fought a lot and it was really tumultuous and it was really unpeaceful. It's good to see that, like, oh, maybe that's not just how marriage is. Maybe there are, like, that comparison is good.
Yes.
Comparison's not always bad. And I think we've put a bad label on it. I think comparison's only bad when it comes with jealousy.
Yes.
You can compare without being jealous.
Yeah.
You can compare for information purposes.
Yeah, 100%. And comparison can really motivate you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, it motivated me 100%. When we were first married and I was trying to break the mold in our marriage, I was trying to like figure out how to become an online guy. I was like, oh my gosh, babes, did you know that there's people making money online? And I was like, this is going to make our marriage way better. We're going to make more money. We're going to have more freedom. I had this like whole dream. I'm like, dude, this is crazy. People are making money online. Well, my next thought was, well, is that
how the
possible?
Heck do I do that?
Is that possible? So this is how I know that comparison can truly motivate you. I spent a year, and I told you this, with a podcast called the Smart Passive Income podcast, right? And all this podcast would do is literally every day, a new person or couple would get on the podcast and they would say how they had a 9-to-5 job and they started an online business and now like
they got out of it.
They got out of it and they're like financially free. And I just heard one testimony after another testimony and another testimony. And what was I doing? I was literally comparing my life to their life. Mm-hmm. But hearing story after story, what I started realizing, I was like, dude, this is possible. Like me seeing that marriage that I want and comparing my marriage to that marriage, it tells me, oh, that is possible.
Something else to aim for.
Something else to aim for. So the comparison is not usually the problem. Again, I think it's the label you put on the comparison. It's like they have a great marriage and, oh, well, they're just faking it. It's like, well, or, you know, maybe there's some things that we can do, right?
Well, it's like I think that, because especially with the rise of social media, that's something we've all heard for a long time is, you know, comparison is the thief of joy and whatever. And I think that was kind of a clever tactic that the enemy used to get people to stop aspiring for more. That's not real. That's not true. That, you know, and you know, it can also help you to reach the next level, to 100%. Do better, to do more, to go outside of what your family of origin did. And that can be good.
And it's scary. Yeah.
Okay, the next one, number 5 out of 7, is we were never meant to do marriage alone. And that's a big reason why we started this podcast, is just to, you know, have these conversations that you might not be able to have with your mom or with your girlfriend or whatever, with your guy friends. We're going to have those conversations here.
Yeah. What's your thought process on this one?
Well, so like we're really fortunate in that we have circles of married couples around us that we get to see really, really often. So we don't do marriage in a vacuum, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
But I could see why that would make marriage harder. If you literally just had nobody to talk to, no help, no connection. I think that's why church can be really important. I think that's why, for us, it's family. We hang out with family a lot more than we do friends or anything like that. But I think it's really important to have connection and other people.
So
or a podcast like this.
I do think this. And I might be way off the ball here, and tell me what your thoughts are.
Okay.
But I'm just going to be real. I think in a lot of circumstances, marriages would do better by actually being more lonely.
Explain what you mean.
And what I mean by that is that oftentimes I think that marriages spend time with people that bring them down rather than bring them up.
Okay.
And so if you're just hanging out with people for the sake of having fellowship and the sake of having friends, but you're not counting the cost of hanging around those people, what is it costing you? Are they making you better? Are they encouraging your marriage? Are they giving you better goals to strive towards? Are they making you want to be better as a human? Or are they doing the opposite? Are they kind of drinking a little too much? Are they not really taking their fitness seriously? Are they kind of, ranting on their spouses here and there? Are they those types of people? Like in a lot of circumstances, because I know this just from being in my circle, right? Like most people are broke, fat, and unhappy, right? That's just the truth.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Broke, fat, and unhappy. It's very hard to find the opposite, right? People that are like thriving in life, they're trying to grow every day, they're trying to learn new things, they're trying to strive in their marriage. You find those people, hang around them every day because you'll become more like those people. But if you have the opposite, you're always going to be drugged down and you're not going to be able to like get to where you're trying to go. So in my opinion, unless you have those people in your life, you're actually spending time too much with people. and I think that is really more of the cancer than actual loneliness.
Okay.
And that's my thought process. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with you. I would say that maybe connection or doing marriage outside of isolation isn't necessarily the problem, but who you're choosing to do it with is the problem. So
100%.
Making really good choices there.
Yes.
But not saying you shouldn't have connection with people.
Yes.
I don't think I'd say that.
100%. Yeah.
But I would agree that if the connection's with the wrong people, you're better off not.
Yes. Yeah. And if you happen to find those very few that are doing that, it's like, dude, those are the gems in life, right? Like it's hard to find that.
Yeah.
Very hard to find that.
Yeah. Okay. Next one is we're busy, not connected.
Yes.
So that's we're talking about the tactics and we're talking about the schedules and we're talking about where do the kids need to go when and who's going to take who where, but we're not building an intimate connection.
Yeah, for sure. The thing with busy is it just feels so productive.
That's your favorite word.
It feels so productive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever heard that quadrant? So it's like there's 4 quadrants. It's like you have unimportant and not urgent, right?
Okay.
Then you have not urgent, but important. And then you have urgent and important. And then you have like
whatever the fourth
one is, right? And it's like what most people spend their time on is urgent stuff. Like it's urgent, but not important. Or it's like, I forget, but this quadrant's really helpful.
Yeah.
Because you can start putting your life in these quadrants. It's like, what feels urgent right now, but is not very important to the marriage or to what I'm doing? And those tasks, you'd be surprised. You'll spend your days doing all the urgent things, but none of them are important. So what does that mean? You're like, your life and your marriage never move forward, right? The tasks that actually move the marriage forward are the not urgent tasks, but very important tasks.
Yeah.
And the problem is they don't give instant gratification.
They're not on fire.
You can't check that off your list for the day. Like, oh, I did this, so I feel super productive, even though it didn't really move the needle. Right. And so
list a couple things, 4 or 5 things that would actually move a needle in a marriage that are not urgent, but they are important.
Not urgent, but are important. Well, I would say number one is, I think actually what you're talking about here is like talking about things that are not logistical. That's important, right? It's not urgent. It's not like you wake up and say, oh, I need to talk to my spouse about, how she's feeling about where our marriage is headed in the next 5 years. Like, you're not going to say, oh, this is an urgent thing, but that's an important conversation to have, right? And so that would be an example, right? Another not important, but
date night.
Yeah, date night. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, date night, right? It's not like an urgent thing, but it's super important. And I mean, honestly, we could sit here and probably list out a lot of them, but it's kind of similar to the concept of if you have a vase and all you do is just fill it with pebbles, right? The small little rocks. You start filling that, and there's nowhere to put the big things in your life, right?
Yeah.
Like the date nights, like talking to my spouse actually, like, trying to like up level my kids and talk to my kids and see where they're at in their life and like where they're headed and how to grow them spiritually or whatever it is. You forget the big rocks and you just fill it with all these little pebbles because all the pebbles are urgent.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to go to the grocery store. I got to call my friend. I got to pay this bill. I got to go, it's like, okay.
Now life's full.
Yeah. And you just forgot the most important stuff.
Yep. Okay. And then the last one is marriage is more about holiness than happiness. Marriage exposes pride, impatience, selfishness, and unforgiveness. God often uses marriages as one of his biggest tools for sanctification. Yes. And no.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that statement. But also there was a book that came out in like the early 2000s called Sacred Marriage that really took this premise that marriage is not about happiness, it's about holiness. Yeah. And really ran with it. I think a little bit too far in the church where we kind of encourage people to stay in unhealthy, unsafe, unproductive situations because it's making them holy, not happy. And I think that there can be seasons where growth is required and it's building your character and leading you towards holiness. But if that shouldn't be the overarching theme of your marriage, right?
Yeah.
So the growth needs to happen, and then you can kind of go into a season that's a little bit more peaceful, and then you might reach another growth season, and then you might, but I think it can kind of be a dangerous precedence to set that like, hey, if you're just miserable, that's okay. It's just God making you holy, and that's just the way marriage is supposed to be. I don't think that's true. What do you think?
There's a nuance there. There's times where maybe it is making you holier, and there's times where it's like, no, this is not necessarily the will of God. And like,
if the growth is never happening and you're just perpetuating the season of hard forever.
Yeah.
Now I think you're almost, let's just say as an example, I'm a wife, right? And my husband is selfish and he's mean and he's rude and he can grow there, right? And he should, and he needs to grow there. And you can say, okay, this is going to build my character while he's growing. But if you get 20 years down the line and he's still that way and you're still like, okay, I'm being made holy, that might be true, but you're also kind of enabling this really bad character in your husband. You know what I mean? It can enable not growing.
For sure. Yeah.
Any other thoughts there? That's a really, really hard one because Rich and I have decided from the very beginning of this thing, we don't ever want to be the people that come to you and tell you, hey, it's time to leave. You need to get a divorce, right? We're never going to be the people that say that. But we're going to have a guest on the podcast, I'm hoping in another month and a half or so, that's going to help us kind of navigate and dive into this a little bit further. But there are times, even though that is not our expertise and we take no joy in saying it, there are times that at least separation does need to happen.
Yeah, and or significant intervention, obviously.
Significant intervention.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I get no joy out of talking about that.
And it's tricky. It's tricky.
It is.
It's tricky. There's a lot of, for us to make a call, we would really have to understand the situation. Like,
we can't make a blanket statement.
Yeah, we couldn't make a blanket statement there. It's really situational, case by case. But the overarching premise that you're trying to say is that it doesn't mean that marriage is always about holiness over happiness. is what you're trying to say.
Right. And it's not that your marriage is more holy if it's less happy.
Yes, that's a better way of putting it.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think we can kind of fool ourselves into thinking that it does.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm just going through the refining fire.
Kind of like people like in the church, especially, a lot of people can think that they're more holy the more broke they are.
Yeah, that's actually very big.
You know, that's really, really common in the church. And I think this thought can be too, that like, if our marriage is really hard, it's more holy than that happy marriage over there.
That's right.
And there was this other premise that it's this one. Where when marriage is hard, you can't treat all kinds of hard the same way. So we have culture says that hard means that you married wrong, right? And we don't believe that, right?
Yeah.
There's growth that can happen, and so we definitely don't mean that. But bad teaching can also say that hard means you endure anything, and we don't believe that either. So wisdom asks, what kind of hard is this, and what does it require? So trying to decide, is this the hard that I need to learn and grow from, or is this the hard that I need to protect myself from? And sometimes that's or protect my children
and maybe
from.
you want to give the 3 seasons of hard right there. I think that's actually helpful.
The 3 seasons of hard? Oh, it's 4.
Well, not the 4th one we've kind of discussed, but the 3 others.
Okay, so you can have growth hard, which is you need to learn to apologize, you need to listen, you need to make sacrifice, you need to communicate, and you need to surrender selfish habits, right? That's growth hard.
Growth hard meaning that you're in a season of just marital growth.
Yes, or personal growth.
Or personal growth.
But it says both can own, repair, and practice, and it requires humility and skills. We can always learn humility. We can always learn skills.
Yeah.
There's also season hard, which is babies, grief, illness, finances, work pressure, caregiving for an elderly parent or something, 100%. Moving, being exhausted. So that is the pressure is largely outside, and you both want to team up against it. So that requires support and reducing the load for your spouse.
Yep.
The third one is pattern hard, recurring contempt, stonewalling, secrecy, scorekeeping, broken promises. Now we're getting into the bad stuff,
yeah,
right?
These are patterns that you keep repeating as either a marriage or just a person.
Right, out of habit.
Out of habit.
So it says apologies do not produce change, and the cycle is protected.
Yeah. So I think that's a good framework. Like you can diagnose this in your life. Yeah.
Yeah. So the pattern hard requires boundaries and counseling.
Yeah.
That's not just a grin and bear it and get through it. That's not what pattern hard is. Now, the 4th one is unsafe hard, and that is fear, threats, violence, sexual coercion, stalking, severe control, or danger tied to addiction. One spouse cannot disagree. They cannot say no. They cannot tell the truth, and they cannot seek help safely. That obviously requires safety and qualified help. Not talking to your mom. That's not a talking to your mom issue. That's you need to go get help issue. So those are the 4 kinds of hard and how to approach them. We don't approach all hard the same way. You have to kind of diagnose what kind of hard are we dealing with. And now I have a quick little rapid fire.
Is that the last ones?
That was number 7, yeah.
Oh, number 7, okay.
Okay, so the rapid fire here is I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you one or the other, and you're going to tell me what you think the bigger problem is in the marriage. So what's a bigger problem in a marriage, selfishness or busyness? What's making marriages more hard?
I feel like they're kind of one and the same most of the time.
They can be, but they're not always.
I would say selfishness.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would agree, because busyness can be a state of life, but selfishness is character.
But also because I think all busyness stems from selfishness. That's my personal opinion, but I don't know.
Okay, so tell me if you think I've been selfish, and I'll hear you. But like right now with football season starting, we're busy, and like we've got 4 kids on 3 different teams, and at the same time and at different fields, and that feels really busy.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of a state of our life, right? I don't get to choose their practice schedule. I didn't, whatever, but
yeah. I see it different.
Okay, explain. What do you see?
I don't see it as busy. I see it as it's just a problem to be solved. Like if you think about it, we have all day and then we leave at 5 p.m. Like we're not busy. It's just in our minds, we're like, oh, well, I have to go here and I got to go there. But if you think about it, it's like a 10-minute decision and then it's done with. And then, okay, I'm going to take the kids here. You're going to take the kids there. It's over.
Yeah. Well, you in particular have a really, really strong aversion to the word busy. So it's probably not the word you would use in that context.
Well, and I also don't again, I just, emotions can really like control us, you know? And so a lot of it is your emotions just lying to you. It's a feeling, doesn't mean it's true. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. But it's like, no, dude, you have to leave at 5. Like right now it's 8 a.m. You're fine. Like there's nothing.
Take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath. Yeah. It's like, but to your point, when you feel like that, you now start frantic, right? You're like, I'm going to get the lunches. I'm going to do the things. I'm going to, now you have this 5 p.m. thing in your head the whole day. You're like, I got to get ready for 5 p.m. So I got to do all these things.
Yeah.
But also too, you have to see, am I getting a certain reward for doing these things? Because humans are reward based and we only do things that reward us. So it's like by being busy.
Okay. That's a really good little caveat there is like, okay, you can team up and say, okay, you take this kid here and I'll take this kid here because we need to help each other. And that's just, but selfishness is, oh no, I can't help you because I'm golfing. You figure it out. That's selfishness.
Yeah.
I like that little distinction. Okay. The next one is, what's the bigger problem? Pride or poor communication?
Pride or poor communication? Pride.
Pride.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments?
Well, pride comes before the fall. I think almost all things are pride related.
Yeah.
Ego driven, whatever it is.
Okay. What's the bigger problem? Phones or lack of quality time?
Phones.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Phones are horrible.
I did not think you were going to say that.
I think phones are horrible.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But also, a phone is just a thing, and it can be used for, if you're using it to call 911 because your kid is choking, it's a great thing.
It's a great tool,
it's just a thing.
Look,
how you use it.
I want anybody to pull up their screen time and look at their screen time. Nobody's using. I need to make a phone call. It's a 10-minute phone call. Like you're gonna have literally 40 hours of screen time, and 90% of it will be social media.
But let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because the question was phone or lack of quality time.
Yeah.
So the phone can add to the lack of quality time, but really the problem is the lack of quality time, not the phone, right?
It's the phone.
You think it's the phone?
Why do you have lack of quality time? Because you're on the phone.
Right.
You get rid of the phone, the quality time happens. Or you're going to fill it with something different.
Right. So then if you just solved the quality time issue and you prioritize the quality time like you should, then the phone would go away on its own, but you also wouldn't fill it with other things because the quality time is the focus.
I'm a big fan of deletion over addition. So like, for example, if I wanted to have ultimate quality time with you, I would just delete everything else. So my default is I have to spend time with Hailey, right? It's no different. Like, for example, if somebody says, man, I can never get my work done. The reason why you're saying that is because you're adding things. You're like, you have your phone and you have your work. You have your kids and you have your work. You have your spouse and you have, if you get rid of the kids, the phone and the spouse, what happens? You just do the work. So it's like, you just got to delete things in your life. Like that's my solution to everything. Just delete. Like, oh, you feel super panicked about all the stuff in your house? Just get rid of everything. Yeah. And you won't think about anything.
Richard did it. It's like, babe, we need to do what'd you say?
I don't know why more people don't think like this. I just think you have to delete more things. And everybody wants to add. Yeah. I want to add this. I want to add that. But just delete.
I don't disagree with you. But when I see that, my first thought would be that quality time is the issue, not the phone. Yeah. Because I would rather focus on what do I want and not.
But look, by saying I want quality time, what you're truly saying is I'm not going to do X. Mm-hmm. Right. So when I say I'm going to have quality time with my spouse tonight, I'm basically saying I'm not going to hang out with my kids. I'm not going to hang out with my phone. I'm not going to hang out with anybody. I'm going to be with my spouse. So every decision is actually a decision to not do things.
Yeah.
That's really what you're saying.
Okay.
Right?
I would have looked at it differently if I had just heard it, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one. What's the bigger problem? Comparison or unrealistic expectations?
Unrealistic expectations.
Okay, I would agree. What's the bigger problem?
But there's a caveat to that too.
Okay. This is supposed to be rapid fire. There's a caveat to that. But give me the caveat.
The caveat is, I don't know. I might sound stupid. People are going to think I'm stupid and crazy, but I don't think anything is impossible. Mm-hmm. Right? So like, there's a caveat to that. Like people might say, well, there's no way we can get out of our financial situation in our marriage and have a happy marriage. And that just never would work. I would just disregard that statement. It's like, no, you can have everything you want. You can have a great marriage. You can have the financial situation. You have the kids. It's just a matter of like, are you going to do the work and figure it out? But so I don't want to say unrealistic expectations because I don't think anything is really that unrealistic if you put enough effort, time, and attention into it. And I think anything's possible. With that being said,
not anything.
I do think that.
Well, babe, if I want to be 6 feet tall, it doesn't matter how much I want it. There are things that are unrealistic.
Well, that's obvious though. Like that, you can't change how high, like the controllables. You have to control the controllables.
Right.
And most controllables can get you to where you want to be.
But like, so I had a conversation in my DMs.
Muggsy Bogues was 5'5" and he played NBA basketball.
But so I had a conversation with a lady in my DMs where she was talking about how her husband is just very emotionally unavailable. Right. And so as we progress in this conversation, it turns out like he's always been that way. His whole family is that way. And so part of it might just be like, hey, you might have an unrealistic expectation that he just can't do, you know, like there might be unrealistic expectations. Those can be real.
That is true in that season. There's I guess the flip side would be, but in a year from now, it could look a lot different.
That's true.
Right. And so that's the optimistic side of me. And I think that optimism drives me. I'm like, you know what? This is possible. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Makes life, I think, more fun.
Yeah.
To think something's possible.
Yeah. You are historically really bad at rapid fire, just so you know. Okay, the next one. What's the bigger problem? Money problems or different priorities?
Money problems or different priorities? I think different priorities.
With the caveat. Go ahead and give your caveat.
Well, I think money problems are kind of a priority thing. You know what I mean? It's like, for example, you could be broke in the U.S. You can go move to Thailand and be rich. Mm-hmm. So it's like, but your priority is to be in the U.S. If your priority was to go to Thailand, you'd be fine. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes it's just, I have a preference for this. Where maybe if you had a preference for something different, you'd be in a, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. But I will say there was a time in our life where like we literally looked and we were like, okay, we've cut short of moving to Thailand.
Yeah.
Right.
No, we were prepared to go into a tiny home.
No, we were, but we were looking at we were like, short of doing that.
Yeah.
We've cut everything we can cut, but we have an income problem. And that was true.
That was true.
And that can.
But we were also willing to literally go to a tiny house.
Yes.
To solve that problem. Right. And it's because our priority was not necessarily at that time making more money. It was just like, how do we make it by with what we have?
Yeah.
At the best way possible. And that I don't think there's actually any way that's better than the other.
Yeah. I think both can be true.
I think both can be true. It's like, if you want to stay with this income, that's fine. Just find a different priority of how you want to live. Mm-hmm. And then if you're cool with that, then it's fine.
And if you don't want to change the priority, then you might have a money problem.
And if you don't want to change the priority, you might have a money problem. Exactly. That's a good way of saying it. Yeah.
Okay. What's a bigger problem? Kids or lack of boundaries?
Lack of boundaries.
Of course. Yeah. I was like, if he says kids, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, lack of boundaries. Yeah, okay. For sure.
Yeah.
What would you say on that?
Well, of course. So like, I think especially as a married couple, it's really important to have boundaries with your kids and for your kids to know that there are boundaries, right? You go to bed at night and dad and I go to bed, and if you need us for any reason, you knock before you come in, right? That's a boundary we have for our children.
Yeah.
That they know. Date night. Hey, we have a sitter that we know, love, and trust, that you guys know, love, and trust. Mondays we leave for date night. And that's, no, you cannot come with us. That's a boundary we have with our children. 100%. So of course our children are not the problem. We love our children more than anything. But if you don't have those boundaries there to protect your marriage and to prioritize your marriage and to teach your kids that your marriage is a priority, that's the problem.
I agree.
Okay.
Well said.
Thank you. Last one. What is the bigger problem? Conflict avoidance or harsh conflict? What's a bigger problem? That's a good one.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Shoot. I don't know.
From this day forward, just joined, and I was just talking about you a couple minutes ago. You missed it. You'll have to listen to the episode.
I would say, if I had to guess, avoidance. That's what I would say.
You think avoidance is a bigger problem?
I think that's a bigger problem.
Because they're both big problems.
Let me give you my rationale. Okay. The reason why I think avoidance is the much bigger problem is because it's a silent killer. It kills you slowly and you don't even know it. It's like, oh, my wife did this. I hate it, but I'm not going to tell her. I'm just going to treat her worse, and I'm just going to let it decay. We're just going to decay. I'm not going to say anything though. At least the fighters are saying it. They're like, I don't like you. You did this. You did that. And,
but like, even like you just said,
you know what I'm thinking.
Yes, but you just said, I don't like you.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can say those things.
Yeah.
because you're in the heat of the moment and you don't really mean it.
Yeah.
But they do damage whether you meant to or not.
They do.
It's like you take a toothpaste tube and you squeeze all the toothpaste out. You can't get the toothpaste back in. Once the words are out and the damage has been done, you can't fix it.
Yeah. So I guess the way I would say is this. I would rather fight the enemy I know than the unknown enemy. And so if I don't know the problems, if I don't know what's going on, I can't do anything. But if I know the problems and you say them in a poor way to me and like you're mad, at least I know what you're thinking. I know she doesn't like this and I can change or I can do something. But if I don't know, what do I do?
Yeah. Well, I guess I would just really I don't think harsh conflict is ever a good thing.
I don't think any of them are good, but if I had to pick, the silent killer, I think, is more deadly.
Yeah, I would just really encourage people, if you do need to address something with your spouse, to address the issue and not the character of your spouse, right?
Yeah.
So avoid saying things like, you're so lazy. You always, and talk about, hey, you forgot to take the trash out. Focus on the issue, not the character.
Yeah, we do have some episodes on that.
We do have
too.
episodes on that.
Help.
I think that's super important.
Yeah.
But that was the whole episode. So before we wrap up, again, I'm going to give you guys like 30 seconds, throw any questions or comments you have up there. But
rapid fire.
So you go ahead and do the end stuff.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys. So number one, the best thing you could do is share the podcast. If you guys enjoy it, if you think other couples would get value from it, we don't promote the podcast. It literally just grows organically. So that's like the best thing you can do for us. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. And if you're trying to grow your marriage, have a better marriage, we have marriage resources down below. You can hit the links, and some of them are free, some of them are paid. Depends on what you're looking for. And we'll see you for the next.
You just winked. I love it when you do that.
Yeah, I'll see you for the next episode.